thought I'd give you guys a little demonstration here. It might be of interest if you want to save a little money on doing ballasting, if you're building a model railroad or you want to ballast some track. I've got kind of a cheap, inexpensive way to do that. Instead of buying the commercial ballasts, it gets a little expensive when you've got a lot of tracks to ballast. So let's take a look at something that I did on my model railroad, and I actually think it looks pretty good. First component you need is some sand, and this is actually fireplace sand, and you can buy that online now. At the time that I bought several bags of it from Lowe's, and it's called fireplace sand, and it's already the perfect size for mainline ballast. You don't have to sift it or anything. It's very consistent, and it works really well. And I'll show you my close-ups of my track and my ballast so you can see how well it looks. Another component you need is a good steel can. This is just an old coffee can. It had coffee grounds, but a good steel can works the best for what we need to do here. And then these craft paints, these little squeeze bottle of craft paints that you can buy at craft stores like Michael's, and I don't know what all you guys have around you, but these little squeeze bottle of acrylic craft paints, different colors. So I have black, white, and also this nutmeg brown. So you can make different color ballasts. And this right here is a strainer that I made. I found some really small fine screen, and I found this at my Ace Hardware, and I made a sifter out of this piece of lumber, and I just kind of tack nailed it to the bottom of it, and then of course I sealed around the edge there, as you can see. And this will make real fine ballast like you use on sidings and yards, because you don't want the heavy ballast that you use on the main line. They use usually real fine ballast, much smaller grain of ballast for yards and sidings. So I use this to strain sand. Originally, when I first got sand, I actually got engine sand from a small yard a few miles away from me here, where they parked some engines, and I used to take my 5-gallon bucket down there and scoop up all the sand that came out of the locomotives, and I scooped it up in my 5-gallon bucket and brought it home. And then I actually sifted my own ballast. I even sifted my own mainline ballast, and then I sifted and made my siding ballast as well, made it down to a smaller size. But if you want to do mainline ballast, that fireplace sand makes it really convenient. It's all ready to go, and I think you can get a pretty good sized bag, like a 5 or 10 pound bag for, I don't know, $10, I paid $5. So anyway, let me pour some of this in a coffee can and just show you how you can color it and make it different colors, make it look like a real railroad ballast. Okay, as you can see, I have dumped a little bit of this sand into this can here. Like I said, it's important to have a metal can, and you'll see why here in a sec. But just put a little bit in there, and you do not want to fill the can all the way up, because it gets a little difficult stirring. So what we're going to do is we're going to pour a little bit of this black paint, and then we'll pour just a little bit of white in with it, because I'm going to try to make some gray ballast. So we'll pour a little bit of this black paint in there, and I've already shook up the bottles. You don't need a lot, you just get a little bit in there like that. So there's my black. You know, this paint dries fairly quickly, so you don't want to waste a lot of time. I mean, you got time. So anyway, I drop a little bit of white in there, not too much. I don't want white ballast, I don't want gray. And you can sometimes get away with just using black, because you know it's not gonna, you'd have to pour a lot of black paint in there for it to turn it really dark color. But you want a little consistency, you do want paint on the sand, so that's why I just add a little bit of white with it. So Now what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to stir this. So this is my stirrer, and this is just a wooden dowel, a stick, a strong one you need. And this is what I'm going to stir my paint in the can with. We're going to stir this stuff, and you've got to get a good consistency. Hopefully the camera's picking this up. So you stir it, you stir it, you stir it, so you get all the clumps out. Mixing the paint really good in with the sand. And if it doesn't look like it's dark enough for you, doesn't look like it's got the right color consistency, just add a little bit more paint if you're going. But this is turning pretty gray here. It's okay if you got some other colors in there. A little bit of some of the sand will not take all the paint. You just consistently stir it. Get it stirred up really good. This is why I said don't fill up the can too full. This right here is a lot of ballast. This will do quite a bit of trackage. Just this little bit right here. And it costs next to nothing. Can you see the color? It's a nice gray. And like I said, you can make it any color you want. You could darken it up some if you needed to. But what you do is you make a lot of batches of this, small batches, and then you can mix them together, because ballast is generally a mix of rock, so there's going to be a little bit different color consistencies in the rock. So anyway, that looks like a really nice color. It's kind of a darkish gray color, and you could add a little brown to it if you want. I've even added a little bit of purple because some of C&W's mainline had a little bit of purple rock in it, so I've even mixed up a little bit of purple, very small amount, and mixed it up in my ballast. Let me just give you some close-up shots of some ballast in my yard. Now this is that strained engine sand. As you can see, it's a little finer ballast than the mainline. Here's a shot of the yard ballast next to the mainline ballast. You can see the difference in the size. Just to show the color variations, this is another spur made from engine sand that I strained, and you can see the different color. And next to it, the main line. It's a different size and a different color. Another view here. In the Midwest, they had kind of a pinkish looking color ballast, so I tried to simulate that. I don't know how close I got, but this is my attempt to make some pink ballast. I was just messing around, so I just put it on this little spur here. It just goes to show you can make any color that you want. Just whatever paint you use. If you want to make it psychedelic you can. You can make it any color you want. But it looks like little bitty rocks. That's all ballast is. Maybe that's all sand is. It's tiny little bitty rocks. That's the siding. And even my gravel roads, I even strained it down to fine and made a lot of my gravel roads out of the sand as well. Now, as I said, my commercial ballast made up a very small percentage of the ballast on my model railroad. This has a little bit of the commercial ballast mixed in with the sand on this siding. That light colored rock is some of the commercial ballast that I had laying around, so I just mixed it in with my sand ballast that I had made. It just added a different color to the sidings. You know, a lot of sidings and main lines are not real consistent with all the same colors of ballast anyway. So I varied it from track to track, actually just using what I had anyway. Because, like I said, I mixed several batches up. Some batches I'd mix together and just make different colors. Put them all in one container, and working on the model railroad in various stages, I just used what I had. This stuff was so cheap to make, so cheap to use, and that's me, I'm cheap. Yeah, one more close-up of the main line, and this is made from the fireplace sand. And it looks good to me. I mean, you guys make the comments down there. Tell me what you think. Like I said, I'm cheap, so I find any way I can to save money, because I really like buying engines and railroad cars. I'm kind of a junkie when it comes to that stuff, so I'd rather save my money in other areas and spend my money on that part of the hobby. So anyway, that's it. Tell me what you think. Thanks.